Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Yasura Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yasura Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Yamuna Tiravanachaji Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tiravanacharia Jamuna Tiravanacharia Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jaja Shudra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanara Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jaja Shudra Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. It's chapter 9. Yeah, that's it, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. Kantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakti Ki Jai, Go Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, assembled devotees, all glories, assembled devotees, all glories, Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Pasyatya Shatarane Govinda Gopal. Govinda So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 19th chapter, starting with text 10. We're reading a few verses till we get to the purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Pranamed Dandavad Bhumao Bhakti Bravena Chetasa Dashavaryam Japin Mantram Tata Stotram Udirayat Praname Dandavad Bhumao Bhakti Pravena Chetasa Dashavaryam Japin Mantram Tata Stotram Udirayat Praname Dandavad Bhumao Bhakti Pravena Chetasa Dasavaryam Japin Mantram Tattastotram Udirayat Praname Dandavad Bhumao Bhakti Pravena Chetasa Dashavaryam Japin Mantram Tata Stotram Udirayat. Anyone like to chant?
Praname Dandavad Bhumao Praname Dandavad Bhumao Bhakti Pravena Chetasa Bhakti Pravena Chetasa Dasavaram Japin Mantram
Dasavaram Japin Mantram
Tatastotram Udiraye
Tatastotram Udiraye
Praname Dandavad Bhumao
Bhakti Pravena Chetasa Dasavaram Japena Mantram Tatastotram Udiraye
Praname Dandavad Bhumao
Praname Dandavad Bhumao Bhakti Pravena Chetasa Dasavaram Japena Mantram
Tatastotram Udiraye
Tatastotram Udiraye
Praname Dandavad Bhumao
Praname Dandavad Bhumao
Bhakti Pravena Chetasa
Bhakti Pravena Chetasa
Dasavaram Japin Mantram
Dasavaram Japena Mantram
Tatastotram Udiraye
Tatastotram Udiraye Praname Dandavad Bhumao
Bhakti Pravena Chetasa
Dasavaram Japena Mantram Tatastotram Udiraye Praname Dandavad Bhumao Bhakti Pravena Chetasa Dasavaram Japena Mantram Tatastotram Udiraye.
Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay, synonyms. Pranamet. Should offer obeisances. Dandavat. Like a stick. Bhumau. On the ground. Bhakti. Through devotion. Pravena. Humble. Chetasa. With a mind. Dashavaryam. 10 times. Japet. Should utter. Mantram. The mantra. Tataha. Then. Stotram. prayer, udirayet, should chant. Translation: one should offer obeisances unto the Lord with a mind humbled through devotion. While offering dandavats by falling on the ground like a rod, one should chant the above mantra 10 times. Then one should chant the following prayer. Excuse me. So before we go on to the next few translations, there's a few things in this purport here. One's offering obeisances with the Lord, unto the Lord with a mind humbled through devotion. So that's, so many people offer respects to others, but it may not be out of devotion. It may not be out of humility, right? Someone may be forced to submit to someone, and they hate every minute of it, and they hate the person who's making them submit. Like a boss and employee relationship, right? Husband and wife. Temple commander and brahmacharis, right? Sometimes it happens like that, where we are offering our respects, but our mind is not filled with humility. It's filled with all kinds of other thoughts. So, it reminds me that Srila Bhakti said in regards to chanting, it's not lip deep, it's heart deep. Since we don't chant with our lips, we chant with our hearts. So anyone can chant, right? Just like this morning back there, I said there's a lot of buzzing going on back here. Remember that? A few devotees were chanting japa. There's a lot of buzzing going on back here. It was a compliment, but a lot of devotees were chanting japa we're trying to set up. So we have to be very careful that it's not just lip deep, but it's actually heart deep. That's where the chanting comes from. So same when we're offering obeisances, it says here, humbled, with a mind humbled through devotion. Those are real obeisances on the ground. And I have a question. I think it's been answered sometimes, and I forgot the answer, and then there's other questions. This falling like a stick. Now, one thing is when you offer full dandavats, you look like a stick. But are you supposed to actually fall from a standing position onto the ground? Because in the old days, sometimes they always would do that. It'd be like, oh my God, it's like whack, you know? I mean, just from a standing position all the way down, you barely catch, you just catch yourself at the last minute, or is it referred to the fact that you're completely out like a stick? Wow. Okay. And you know, there's different, maybe Amogalila, you have a better memory than I. If you ever read the section on paying obeisances, there's different kinds of obeisances. There's different numbers of what parts of your body are touching the ground. You know that? What is the dandavat? Is that ashta? Is it all 8? Okay. And then when you're on your knees, what's that? And how about when you don't unfold your legs and just touch your head? You know, that's called bogus. That's called bogus. Because there's actually a way to do it properly out of respect. And one of them is not you sitting like this, and then if someone comes in, you just touch your head. You should unfold your legs and pay proper obeisances. Wananga. Okay. And then also 2 hands. My understanding is that the meditation is when your hands are out, you're actually meditating, you're touching the Lord's feet. So if you go like this, it's just one holding something. It's like, you know, it's like, Krishna's saying, something wrong with my other foot? Yeah, right, like that. But it's 2 hands. It's 2, that's what that means. So, like that, it's proper. So it's just etiquette. This is all etiquette we have to learn. So as far as obeisances. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on here. We'll read the translations and get to the purport. So here it is. It says this is the following prayer. One should chant the following prayer. May Lord Viṣṇu and Mother Lakṣmī, Goddess of Fortune, my Lord Viṣṇu and Mother Lakṣmī, Goddess of Fortune, you are the proprietors of the entire creation. Indeed, you are the cause of the creation. Mother Lakṣmī is extremely difficult to understand because she is so powerful that the jurisdiction of her power is difficult to overcome. Mother Lakshmi is represented in the material world as the external energy, but actually she is always the internal energy of the Lord. Text 12. My Lord, you are the master of energy, and therefore you are the supreme person. You are sacrificed, yajña personified. Lakshmi, the embodiment of spiritual activities, is the original form of worship offered unto you, whereas you are the enjoyer of all sacrifices. 13. Mother Lakshmi, okay, this is where the purport is. Mother Lakshmi, who is here, is the reservoir of all spiritual qualities, whereas you manifest and enjoy all these qualities. Indeed, you are actually the enjoyer of everything. You live as the supersoul of all living entities, and the goddess of fortune is the form of their bodies, senses, and minds. She also has a holy name and form, whereas you are the support of all such names and forms and the cause of their manifestation. Did you get all that? Right. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Madhvacharya, the Acharya of the Tattvavadis, has described this verse in the following way, quote, Vishnu is described as yajña personified, and Mother Lakshmi is described as spiritual activities and the original form of worship. In fact, they represent spiritual activities and the supersoul of all yajña. Lord Viṣṇu is a supersoul even of Lakṣmīdevī, but no one can be the supersoul of Lord Viṣṇu, for Lord Viṣṇu himself is the spiritual supersoul of everyone, unquote. According to Madhvacharya, there are two tattvas or factors. One is independent and the other is dependent. Is that Ashrita and Ashraya in Sanskrit? The first tattva is the Supreme Lord Viṣṇu, and the second is the Jiva tattva. Lakṣmīdevī, being dependent on Lord Viṣṇu, is sometimes counted among the Jivas. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas, however, describe Lakṣmīdevī in accordance with the following two verses from the Premeya Ratnavali of Baladev Vidyabhushana. The first verse is a quotation from the Vishnu Purana. I'll go to the English. O best of the Brahmanas, Lakshmiji is the constant companion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Viṣṇu, and therefore she is called Anapayini. She is the mother of all creation. As Lord Viṣṇu is all-pervading, his spiritual potency, Mother Lakshmi, is also all-pervading. Lord Viṣṇu has three principal potencies, internal, external, and marginal. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has accepted Parashakti, the spiritual entity of the Lord, as being identical with the Lord. Thus, she is also included in the independent Vishnu Tattva. In the Kantimala commentary on the Prameya Ratnavali, there is this statement. You can read the Sanskrit on your own if you like. Although some authoritative Vaishnava disciplic successions count the goddess of fortune among the ever-liberated living entities, Jivas, and Vaikuntha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in accordance with the statement in the Vishnu Purana, has described Lakshmi as being identical with the Vishnu Tattva. The correct conclusion is that the descriptions of Lakshmi as being different from Vishnu are stated when an eternally liberated living entity is imbued with the quality of Lakshmi. They do not pertain to Mother Lakshmi, the eternal consort of Lord Viṣṇu. There's a bunch, so whoever gives class tomorrow, there's a bunch of verses starting without purports. Okay. Excuse me. Must have been amazing seeing Arjuna shoot those arrows into the ground. The water just came out, went right into Bhishma Dev's mouth. No, there's plenty of water, but I was just thinking it'd be nice if that could just happen. Okay. Okay. Om Agyantimarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshulunminitam Nirataismai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadandikam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakapatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So by your good wishes, I'll try to say a few words here about Lakshmi and Narayan. There's a Shriya Kanta, those two verses, that verse. The very last line of that is about how very few great souls actually understand that Goloka Vrindavan is there and Krishna is the original Supreme Person. It's understood by very, very few. It's very confidential. Very, very confidential information. Even as the Vedic literatures and the Vedic culture is concerned, most people are thinking that Lakshmi Narayan are the Supreme Personalities of Godhead. And if you, when you break free from this material world and enter into the spiritual world, you first come to the Vaikuntha planets. There's unlimited Vaikuntha planets, and on all of them are forms of Lakshmi Narayan. So, there in the spiritual world, their presence is very prominent, and is described in these verses here. As far as the material world, is the expansions of Narayan are creating this material world. All right, you have your over here the picture underneath, right, by Dravida Prabhu. You got Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Shirodakshaya Vishnu. The material world coming from the pores, like that. Loma, right? Loma Bilaja, from the hair pores of Mahavishnu. Universes are coming out of those. What comes out of the pores of your hair? Is it? Can you even say that in Bhagavatam class? No, it's sweat. Right? No, it's sweat. But as in us in Vishnu, from the pores of his hair, universes are coming. As he's sleeping, he's not even awake when it's happening, right? Yoga Nidra. He's asleep and that's happening. Just by sleeping, universes are coming out of the Loma Vilaja, like that. And then he expands as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu into each universe, and then Brahma comes and he expands himself again as Shirodakshaya. So Vishnu, one understanding, you've probably heard this before, Krishna is God at home and Vishnu is God at the office. You've probably heard that, because he's doing things. He's got, Krishna expands himself. But that's not the original. The original is Krishna. And so what's being described here is the connection also with the material energy, and that Lakshmi Narayan, the Supreme Personalities of Godhead, and she is accepted as sometimes as Jiva Tattva in certain circumstances, but she is the Shakti of the Lord. All-powerful personalities. And it's no wonder that most people in the Vedic line, they're worshipping Lakshmi Narayan, and some of them even considering that Lakshmi Narayan are the Supreme Personalities of Godhead, and Krishna comes from Narayan, right? Krishna comes from Narayan. Sometimes they think like that. So, well, I'll say a few words on something else, then we're going to dive into that, the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, speaking with Venkat Bhatta in South India. Very beautiful, that exchange they had, that friendly exchange they had about Lakshmi Narayan and Radha and Krishna and the Rasa Lila. But now Prabhupada says in his books that we worship Radha and Krishna in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. Now why is that? Exactly, we're not ready. We have to see, here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The residents of Vrindavan, they don't think, oh, here's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's Krishna, right? I'm going to jump on his shoulders, play with him, or whatever. They're not thinking that they're covered because of pure devotion, pure love. they don't think of Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we read in the different pastimes, sometimes they'll come out of that, but then Krishna immediately covers them over again. Just like when Mother Yashoda was looking in Krishna's mouth. Said, everyone says you ate dirt. He said, they're lying. They got all upset with me. Even my brother, my big brother's lying. He said, well, if they're lying, open your mouth. I said, okay. You want to see what's in my mouth? He opens his mouth, and then inside his mouth, she saw the whole universe and planets, and then she even saw her inside there looking in Krishna's mouth. So for a minute, she's going, whoa, this is like, she started leaving that rasa, and then Krishna covered her over again. Well, whatever it is, just shut your mouth. Okay, and we'll go, okay, you didn't eat any earth, right? Don't do it again. Just let's move on here. So sometimes, so Krishna would cover that, because devotional service mixed with awe and reverence is not as pure as that which is just you're loving Krishna not because he's God, but you're loving Krishna because he's Krishna. Right? I think we described this at different times when you bring up the topic of, very wealthy people, very powerful people. Sometimes they're very, very lonely because their so-called friends and even family love them. Why? Because of the money and power. So, and they know it. They feel it. It's like, you don't really like me, you like my bank balance. Right? I remember was it Disraeli? Is that his name? The British Disraeli. Yeah, he married a very rich older woman. And they both knew why. So they actually had a very peaceful relationship, but it had nothing to do with mutual attraction. It's there in the history books. She was much older, but very, very rich. But she said, okay, I married what do they call it, a toy boy? Like that? Boy toy? Oh, he's a toy boy, whatever, I don't know. So, but I mean, he was a politician and so on, some power there, and she had power, but they were in an illusion about why they married each other, So it wasn't based upon love at all, it was just an arrangement because of power. She had the money, he had all kinds of political power and so on. So that goes on, but it's not very pure. It's not pure love. Like that. So, the worship of Lakṣmīnarayan, people are praying, I think, Dravida, you were bringing this up in the verses yesterday, that, people are addressing Lakṣmīnarayan because they want something. There are pure devotees of Lakṣmīnarayan in the Vaikuntha planets, they're with Narayan and so on, but there's awe and reverence. You're God and I'm a tiny little jiva, like that, so. There it is, like that. These are formulas. Because in this material world, everyone's looking for the blessings and benedictions of Lakṣmīnarayan. And a lower step of that is actually they push Narayan out of the picture and they're begging for blessings from Lakshmi. Right? They want to do Lakshmi Puja, like that. So in our line we do Lakṣmīnarayan Puja. And we always tell them, you have to worship them together. Why are you trying to separate them? And if you want Lakshmi to stay with you, you have to worship Narayan, because she never leaves Narayan's side, like that. And I always tell them the greatest benediction, I always ask them, what's the greatest benediction Lakshmi can give you? This is after I describe the 8 forms of Lakshmi, like Dana Lakshmi. So I said, what's the greatest benediction Lakshmi can give you? So I stare them down. I'm waiting. Some say money, a lot of money. And I said, no. What do you think it is? Good health? Well, devotion to Narayan. Yes. Devotion to the Supreme Lord, That's the greatest benediction she can give you, and it's better than anything else of this material world. But they usually go down the whole list, money and food and children. And I said, no. Those are all temporary. What do you think? So that's the greatest blessing and benediction. So the point is, with the deity worship, we have to be very, very careful. The mood of Lakṣmīnarayan is great respect. Here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His eternal consort. So in the mood of Lakṣmī, because we have to be very careful. Our tendency is not to be careful. We're not brought up like that, and to make all kinds of mistakes. I think in Sanskrit they're called aparads, and they have a very destructive effect on our devotional creepers. So I have to be very careful, very, very careful, like that. Always remembering, here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not my buddy Krishna, like that. He's not our buddy Krishna right now, okay? Like that. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very, very, very careful, like that. So, we got 2 minutes to tell this whole pastime. What? Supposed to end at 8:25? I thought that's what time we're supposed to then questions and over at 8:30, no? No. Okay. So this is a conversation, a wonderful conversation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he's traveling in South India, Chaturmasi came. And that's the 4 months of the rainy season. It gets very, very difficult for sadhus to travel. And he happened to be there in Srirangam, and this very wonderful Brahmin, very wonderful, who's his son, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, invited him to stay with us. That was they would stay in one place, sometimes in a Brahmin's house or Dharmashala or something like that, because it's just very difficult to travel. Very, very difficult to travel. You're not supposed to travel when it's all rainy and stormy and muddy, and it's just very difficult to travel. So they were staying, and they developed a very friendly relationship. They were very pure devotees. And his brother is Prabhananda Saraswati, right? Prabhananda Saraswati. So this is a very special family. But what it says here, one time they had this conversation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told the Bhattacharya, your worshipful goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, always remains on the chest of Narayan. She is certainly the most chaste woman in the creation. However, my Lord is Lord Sri Krishna, a cowherd boy who is engaged in tending cows. Why is it that Lakshmi, being such a chaste wife, wants to associate with my Lord Krishna? So they started this conversation. Okay, wait a second. She is the consort of Narayan, but here she wants to go be with Krishna. What's going on here? Because she's known as the most chaste woman there is. It says here, just to associate with Krishna, Lakshmi abandoned all transcendental happiness in Vaikuntha and for a long time accepted vows and regulative principles and performed unlimited austerities. Have you ever been to that place in Vrindavan? Across the Jamuna? Last time I was there, down at our Swami, and I think it was, who was it? Shastra. We went there, sat there, and there's a nice temple, a courtyard. It's where she went to perform severe austerity to see if she can get into the rasa dance, like that. Trying to skip ahead here because there's so many different verses. So here's a question. It's a mystery. Why? She's performing all these different austerities, and then Venkabhatta, he said that since Krishna and Narayan are the same personality, Lakshmi's association with Krishna does not break her vow of chastity. So he came back with defending her. Okay. Rather, it was in great fun that the goddess of fortune wanted to associate with Lord Krishna. So it's just a different mood. Same person. She's not being unchaste. It's just a different mood. Okay? So, well, that's where we get into. That's what the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to come back and say. Okay, that's good explanation. You got your Siddhanta right there. Okay. Now, yep. I just want to skip ahead. Okay, here it is. But can you tell me, Lord Chaitanya, why the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, could not enter the rasa dance? She wanted to, but she couldn't do it. The authorities of Vedic knowledge could enter the dance and associate with Krishna, because there's a reference here to great sages who performed austerities, but they took birth as gopis in Vrindavan, like that. Yeah, That's what that verse says here. Having been asked by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu why the goddess of fortune could not enter into the rasa dance, whereas the authorities on Vedic knowledge could, Venkat Bhatta replied, I cannot enter into the mysteries of this behavior. I am an ordinary human being. Since my intelligence is very limited and I'm easily agitated, my mind cannot enter within the deep ocean of the pastimes of the Lord. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Himself. You know the purpose of your activities, and the person whom you enlighten can also understand your pastimes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, Lord Krishna has a special characteristic. He attracts everyone's heart by the mellow of his personal conjugal love. By following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of the planet known as Brajaloka or Goloka Vrindavan, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. However, in that planet the inhabitants do not know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's explaining that what's going on in Goloka Vrindavan. And then it jumps to 36. The goddess of fortune, Lakṣmī, wanted to enjoy Krishna and at the same time retain her spiritual body in the form of Lakṣmī. However, she did not follow in the footsteps of the gopis in her worship of Krishna. Vyasadeva, the supreme authority on Vedic literature, composed... Okay. It says here, before this explanation was given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Venkat Bhatta thought that Sri Narayan was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thinking in this way, Venkat Bhatta believed that worship of Narayan was the supreme form of worship, superior to all other processes of devotional service, for it was followed by the Sri Vaishnava disciples of Ramanujacharya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had understood his misconception, and to correct it, the Lord talked so much in a joking way. And then the Lord said, my dear Venkat Bhatta, please do not continue doubting. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this is the conclusion of the Vedic literatures. Lord Narayan is the opulent form of Krishna, attracts the minds of the goddess of fortune and her followers. And then he explains that they're all forms of Krishna. You know, don't become depressed or anything. They're all forms of Krishna. And I think at the very end here he says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, attracts the minds of the goddess of fortune, but Lord Narayan cannot attract the minds of the gopis. This proves the super excellent position of Krishna. So, to say nothing of Lord Narayan personally, Lord Krishna himself appeared as Narayan just to play a joke on the gopis. And he goes into that pastime where the gopis are looking for Krishna, and Krishna turned himself into the form of Narayan. And the gopis came by. They said, oh, pay their obeisances. And they said, which way did Krishna go? Not you are the Supreme Personality of God. They're too busy looking for Krishna. So there's Narayan himself. And there's another pastime where he takes the form of Narayan, and Radharani comes, and he can't maintain the form. Like that, he can't maintain that form. So this is just Lord Chaitanya's way of pointing out to Venkat Bhatta and all others that Krishna, that form of Krishna, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's the highest form, and it's the purest of all of love, like that. But Lakshmi and Narayan are there; they're worshipable personalities. But again, it's Krishna in the office. He's got stuff to do, run this material world, and take care of everyone as a super soul in the heart. And of course, they're interchangeable. Someone brought up the question, maybe it was in your class yesterday, because I was listening to it online, about who's in the heart. Is Lakshmi there also, and who's in there? Krishna can take any form he wants, right? Who's in Hanuman's heart? The famous picture, right? Sitaram. So, Krishna can invite as many personalities into you. In your heart, you could see the Panchatattva. You can see Lord and so many associates. All of Vrindavan can be manifest. It's just unlimited, because wherever there's Krishna, there's all his devotees and his dham, right? So there's no limit, and it depends on the relationship with the devotees. Some devotees are naturally inclined to worship Lakṣmī or Sitaram or different forms of the Lord, but still the purest form, the original form, is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigrahanadi Radhira Govinda Savakarana Karanam. Like that. So the question is, should we worship Radha and Krishna for material benefit? Should we ask them for material benefits as devotees of Krishna, if we want something? It's not ideal, but yeah. In other words, that's your Lord and Master. So if you're going to ask someone, ask Krishna. Like that. He may or may not give it to you, but you can. We would ask. We're not going to ask anyone else. Just like devotees are forbidden to worship the demigods, because worshiping the demigods means you're asking for a material benediction. What they're going to give you. You don't ask the demigods for pure devotion. You should, but generally speaking, they are administering material benedictions. So, but we're not interested. Like that. But if there is some material desire, devotees will always ask Krishna. Krishna, I'm sorry to bother you, but I got this problem. Can you help me out? Like that. So we can end here. Are there any questions or comments? Yes.
I have a question. Because in this verse, one of the verses, the translation says, therefore Lakshmi is Viṣṇu Tattva. And I immediately thought of the passage in the 4th chapter, Adi Lila, and I found it. The beloved, this is Adi Lila 4, 74 to 75. I'll just read the translation. The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of 3 kinds: the goddesses of fortune, the queens, and the milkmaids of Braja, who are the foremost of all. These consorts all proceed from Radhika. Just as the fountainhead Lord Krishna is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all these consorts. The goddesses of fortune are partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. So the goddesses of fortune are her plenary portions, and they display the forms of Vaibhava Vilas, and queens are the Vaibhava Prakash. So I was puzzled, because can Viṣṇu Tattva be Shakti Tattva? Are they? I mean, I know, this idea that they're, identical, meaning they're one, there's a oneness there. The energy is non-different from the energy. But I never remember reading this, that right. The Viṣṇu, that the Lakshmis are Viṣṇu Tattva. So I'm a little puzzled by that, because I thought they were all coming from Radha. They're all Shakti Tattva, varieties, like that. So
all I could, in this purport we read, the fact that they are expansions, and this is a reference to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has accepted the Parashakti, the spiritual energy of the Lord, as being identical with the Lord. In other words, Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. That's all I can think, because you're right. There's Viṣṇu Tattva, Shakti Tattva, Jiva Tattva. There's a material energy. Vishnu's Viṣṇu. But this is Vishnu's energy. Viṣṇu Parupa. Okay. You have a comment on that?
Well, I was just reading here. It says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has accepted Parashakti, the spiritual energy of the Lord, as being identical with the Lord. Thus, she is also included in the independent Viṣṇu Tattva. And then the sentence here, it says, has described Lakshmi as being identical with the Viṣṇu Tattva. So it's not saying, my understanding is not saying she is Viṣṇu Tattva, like she's Viṣṇu, but she's identical with Viṣṇu Tattva in the sense that she's Shakti, just like in this, in the last verse of these 2 verses, quoted the first line, Vishnosyu Shaktayas Tisras. So seems to me like it's saying that she's Shakti, but Shakti is identical with Viṣṇu.
Beta Beta Tattva.
Yeah.
Just like Venkapata said, I am a tiny little entity, I cannot figure this out. You're going to have to give the answer. So in the same way here, how Krishna is moving, it's way beyond our pay scale. Like that.
There's
question or comment?
There's 2 small things. There's another interesting pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Alarnath Mandir in somewhat outside of, I guess it's in Puri. But it's described that that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the most ecstatic at Alarnath Mandir. Alarnath Mandir is like a Viṣṇu Mandir. It's like I think it's a Sri Vaishnava temple actually. It's like, you know, four-armed Vishnu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so ecstatic when he was there that he was offering obeisances, and he melted into the floor, like the stone floor. Actually, there was like impressions of his body there. He was so ecstatic there. I mean, it's interesting because if you think about it, why is he so ecstatic seeing Narayan? You know, but because he's you know, Radha Bhava Duti Suvalatam, he's Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So basically, in one sense, he's Radharani. He goes and he sees Alarnath, and Alarnath is so ecstatic upon seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Radharani, that he can't maintain his form as Vishnu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is seeing him as Shyam Sundar, and so he's becoming very ecstatic, and he's melting into the floor like that. So kind of confirming.
Lord Chaitanya goes to I thought it was Al-Alarnath. You're talking about
There's Al-Alarnath, but then there's also Alarnath. It's kind of like, I don't know, just a colloquial pronunciation of Alwarnath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that's when Jagannath deities they're close. So you can't see them. So then he leaves, right? That's
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, and then one other thing, just interesting thing I found out recently when I was in Srirangam. So Venkata Bhatta's home is there right outside of the Ranganath Mandir. And it's actually not there anymore. Recently they tore it down. Yeah, recently they tore it down. But devotees saved stones, like big slabs of stone so I think in Salem they're keeping one of those stones. They're going to worship it on the altar.
Did they move the footprints that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta put there and all that?
I'm not sure.
He established the footprints of Lord Chaitanya.
I didn't know.
How he put those in different places. Wow.
Oh yeah, you know what? Those are there in front of the Rajgopuram. They have a temple, little temple there. Yeah.
Okay.
But also interesting is that it's somewhat unrelated. But anyway, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying at the home of Venkata Bhatta, he ordered these deities to be carved. These Jagannath Baladi Subhadra deities that are they're worshipped there. But it's a very interesting form of Jagannath Baladi Subhadra because they're actually like complete. You know, they're carved like it's a full face. You know, it's a face of Krishna with hair, but it's still that kind of like short, stubby form of Jagannath. You can't see the feet because they're wearing skirts, but maybe they do, I'm not sure. But they have hands, and they have, you know, it's a full...
I don't remember, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's interesting. And it's worship, it's maintained by Sri Vaishnavas, everything, the whole thing. But, and they have a nice Garuda Stamba there, and they have a Murti of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like this on the Garuda Stamba. But I can show you a picture. I took a picture of the deities. Really sweet deities.
Esoteric Leela, so I'll do my best. I had three things. One, just a comment. I really appreciate that you honed in on the mind humbled through devotion. That was my first question, and thank you for addressing that on the top. That's a really awesome idea, that through devotion we become humbled. So it's a byproduct of the process, or that's the result of the process. I don't know, but it's really wonderful that by practicing devotion we gain humility, because we're told over and over and over that being humble is the key to our success. I've known Mani Bhattani for a long time before we were both gracefully accepted into New Govardhan Dham. I remember asking him one time, we were just, what kind of Ras are you interested in? Like, what might you think you were? And I want to be, maybe cowherd boy, I want to play with my friends, you know, so Sakya Ras. But he said servant mood. He thinks he's more servant mood. So is Vaikuntha, is that on reverence Dasya Ras, or is it something separate?
Well, all the rasas are there, but they're tinged with awe and reverence.
So then what would conjugal love look like?
You have those who, just like the queens of Dwarka and so on.
Yes.
There's you can call it Madhurya Ras, but it's husband and wife, like that. That's what it is. Lakṣmī is the wife of Narayan, the eternal consort.
Okay.
So it's not the same as
not
the
Gopi
Parakiya
Bhav.
Rasa.
Yeah, okay.
But all the rasas are there. I don't know, well, do you ever hear of Lord Narayan's mom and dad? No, so maybe, I don't know about Vatsalya Rasas there. But there's, you know, Friendship? I don't know. You're right. That's something to look into. Definitely dasya,
Yeah.
servitorship, and so on. But, fall.
Folded hand. Fall like a stick.
So-
And then the real question is what we were honing in on that long purport. So I was trying to ask Amoga, but I'm pretty sure that Krishna is not different from his name, form, qualities, and pastime. They're him. So when we have this sentence, there's so much to unpack here about the correct conclusion. Descriptions of Lakshmi as being different from Viṣṇu are stated when an eternally liberated living entity is imbued with the quality of Lakshmi. They do not pertain to Mother Lakshmi, the eternal consort of Viṣṇu. So someone is imbued with the quality of Lakshmi, but the quality is not different than her, right? So they do not pertain to her, though? Do you know what am I incorrectly reasoning this, or it's just, that's interesting. They have a quality of Lakshmi, which is different from other Lakshmi, but...
Well, just like the Lord sometimes, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would appear in different ways. And one of the ways, just like imbues a jiva, living entity, with his Shakti. Well, it could be temporary, it could be eternal, but I'm just saying that's one way the Lord makes himself present. He personally is there, he empowers his devotee, he imbues the devotee with Gauranga Shakti, or it could be Krishna Shakti, that is so filled with the energy of the Lord. So, but that jiva is not Viṣṇu, but because he's so empowered by the potency of Viṣṇu, it's something beyond the ordinary. So I think that's what that's referring to. One can be empowered with the potency of Lakṣmī, like that.
So like if I'm at a baseball game and a guy hits a big home run and I get the baseball that he hit into the stadium, I have that he hit, but I am not a professional baseball player. I have the home run ball.
You're the temple commander. You better get back to the temple.
Okay. Right.
You got business to do. Get away. What are you doing at the game? You don't have time for that.
Hey, I got a home run ball.
I don't think anyone here is going to be impressed.
Okay, fair enough. I get that though. Yeah, you're imbued with a quality of that, but you're still who you are. You've just been empowered with an aspect.
I don't know if catching someone's home run imbues you with any potency to be a good baseball player. It just means you caught a home run.
Yeah,
it's a little different.
You can sell it on
It's
eBay.
a good try in the analogy, but I don't think it's
Okay.
like that.
I was just thinking of paraphernalia doesn't make you the person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think we
Someone
can end
saved
here.
me. Okay. All right.
We can end here. Any questions online? You have a question?
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Maitreya. It's good?
In the beginning, you mentioned about chanting that not lip, but go deep in heart. Yes. And how I understand this to chant by heart, this is not our efforts. This is mercy of Vaishnavas or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's all. And maybe can you share with how to go deep?
That's another class. But you made a very good point. Our advancement in Krishna consciousness is based upon the mercy of others, the mercy of the Vaishnavas, mercy of Guru, Krishna's mercy. So advancement means attracting the mercy of Krishna and his devotees. That's the key. That is absolutely very important point you made. Yes. So we have to be always anxious somehow or other attract the kindness and mercy of the Vaishnavas, the Gurus, and Krishna. We have to be very, very keen how to do that. And that's seva, by service, by a sincere, ardent service. That's the quality of the Vaishnava. They're always serving. That. And it's a complete opposite of the material world. Everyone in the material world is trying to be the master. So it's just like completely opposite. So we can end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
People